I'm not going to waste any more time. This lady I met at Family Research Council, she's been doing this, if I got this right, Gina, for about 16 years. So Gina knows more about what we call cultural impact teams than I'll ever know. So we asked her if she would come out here and share with us what cultural impact team or salt and light team, what's that about, how you do it, the things to look for, things not to do. Gina's grandma, she's got 5 grandchildren, lives in Chino Hills and works underneath Jack Hibbs, for any of you who know Jack. Tremendous pastor.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask you to welcome Gina Gleason.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Nehemiah Reset, and I'm just so excited to be here. First time in Minnesota. I'm so grateful it didn't snow. So I don't have any warm clothes. I have a jacket, so when it gets about 70s, I have a jacket to wear, but that's about it. So I'm very grateful for that, and grateful for the invitation, and grateful to see this good turnout today. And what excites me about seeing people like you is that it's just, I feel such a sense of unity in the spirit. I think that we are all like-minded. Here I am coming from California. And you may say, well, can anything good come from California? Yeah, there's a lot of us. Okay, there's one back there. That's right. But, you know, we all are sensing the same thing. I think we see the culture declining. We see the impact it's having on our children, and we want to protect our children. And I don't have children in the public school, and right now I'm focusing on an issue that is affecting children in the public school, comprehensive sex ed in California.
Oh, yeah.
And so I am just very passionate about what I do. And I need to say this too. I'm going to present a lot of information for you tonight about what a community impact team or a culture impact team or a salt and light ministry team would look like and some of the things that they would do. But don't be overwhelmed by what I'm going to present tonight, because when I first started, if I would look at this list of things that I'm presenting tonight, I would say, oh no, not me. I could never do this. But that's not what this is about. I'm going to say to you right now, if the Lord is calling you to stand, please listen to Him. Amen. And so when I started off, I didn't know the first thing about policy, about laws, about elected officials, about school boards, about anything. But the Lord did it all. So He's going to get the glory for everything that I'm going to show you tonight. And also a great big thanks to my pastor, Pastor Jack Hibbs, because he's my boss. I'm on staff there at the church. And because I am just so prayerful about every action that we are taking as a ministry, that when I go to Pastor Jack with a project or something that I want to do, he's never said no to me. So that just goes to show you that when we are united in the Spirit, when we're seeking the Lord, He's the one that's going to give us our success. So I'll start right here. So we are Real Impact. Pastor Jack's ministry is real life, real radio. You can listen to him on podcast even.
On AM 90, The Mission.
Oh, yeah, great. And so he's a great pastor, teacher, and a great boss. He's my boss. And he started this ministry long before I ever got to the church. And so it's evolved. And so we recently changed our name to Real Impact. It used to be the Watchman Ministry, but now that we're all united under the real name, Pastor Jack, that's what we call ourselves. And we have quite a ministry at our church. And I'm all over the country and all over the state trying to share what I know, what I have up here to share with you, because I can't keep it up here. It does no good to just stay up here. And I'm very passionate about our families, our kids. So I want to share from my heart what I feel about that. And so that's for you tonight. So when people talk to me about, my background, where I come from, I'm a very shy and timid person. You would never know it because I'm standing in front of audiences all the time. But I really come to the point where the Lord has taught me, Gina, this is not about you. This is about the people. This is about the people that I love. and I want them to know what they can do to stand for righteousness in the public square. So that's what this is about today. So, a lot of what we do is talking about some things that are very controversial, that's some things that people would not really ever talk about, especially in church. But I always try to remind people, my team and all of us and myself, that as we talk about these things, we need to remember this. We cannot be a loud clanging cymbal when we're talking about some of these very controversial things, and we have to have the right attitude and the right spirit. And this verse has always guided me, and so you can see it there and you can read it, but I'd like to read it, 2 Timothy 2:24-26. A servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be gentle to all, able to teach, patient in humility, correcting those who are in opposition. If God perhaps would grant them repentance, so that they may know the truth, and that they may come to their senses and escape the snares of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his will. Because isn't that really what the world is like? I mean, by God's grace, we are here, so we go to heaven one day. There's a whole world out there that does not know the Lord. They do not know biblical principles because they're not reading their Bibles and they're not going to church, and they're not our enemy. It's the devil that's our enemy. So we have to remember that as we consider getting involved and stepping up and speaking up. So I'm going to get started by talking about what a community impact team is. It's gone from culture impact team at FRC, now they're community impact teams, and I think that's for a good reason. I think one of the best places to get started is in your own community. If you start thinking about the state, oh my gosh, that's a big project, I don't know if I can be effective in the state. In the country, in Washington, D.C., oh, I don't know if I can do that, that's just too overwhelming. But think about your own community. You can really have a lot of influence in your own community. So, what is a community impact team? It's a ministry that just monitors what's going on in the culture. I'm the one that's paying attention to the news. I pay attention to what's coming out of Sacramento, our state capital, and out of Washington, D.C. And I discern which of those things that come out of those places we're going to take on as legislation that we're concerned about, because we can't do everything. It's really important to understand, and our focus is very narrow when we talk about that. So it educates and equips and encourages the church to have a presence in the culture, to speak up for those who cannot defend themselves. And so that's what this ministry is about, helping our church, the body of Christ, understand what's going on. Because what does the Bible say? My people perish for lack of knowledge, right? And so we have people sitting in our own churches that really don't understand what the world needs. So when I'm presenting an issue to the congregation, I'm doing it through a biblical lens. I'm looking at it as a Christian, as Christ would look at it, according to his word. It's not something that I'm looking up on my own. And then, of course, I'm a resource for my pastor. See a picture here of Pastor Jack. One day he sat in front of a Senate Education Committee to talk about a bill. And so I'm the one that does the research for him and discuss it and make sure he understands. If he's going to be interviewed by a media outlet, TV or news, I'm the one that helps him get the background information. I'm the one that, I said, monitors all the information coming out of our capital or DC. And I keep him informed. He doesn't have time to do that. He's a pastor. He's busy preaching the gospel and running the church. So we are just one ministry of many in my church. There's many, many ministries. We're a very large church. So we're just one small part of the ministry at Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. So I'm there to serve my pastor. So to get started, I hope everyone got the checklist that was on the seat. And you can see it right there. And the purpose of this checklist is, as I go through these steps, I'll go through some of them quickly. It's going to give you something to walk away with. It's going to give you something so that when you go home tonight or tomorrow, you're going to have notes, or you're going to have something that you, as I was explaining this project or this activity, you are going to say, yeah, I'll consider doing that, and check that box, consider. Or maybe you're going to say, oh, that's definitely something I want to do, or we should do. Check that box. Or I'm already doing it. And I think that most people probably do not have existing community impact teams right now, so this will help you, so once you get home, you can figure out what it is you want to do with what you've learned today. So let's start. Number 1, pray. Always pray. This is at the foundation of everything that we do. If you're not praying, don't even bother getting involved. Because you really have to know what the Lord is leading you into. You really have to be listening to Him. Because you don't want to step into an area that He's not calling you into. And I really feel that every project that we have taken on has been covered in prayer. We pray in our office, my assistant and I are constantly praying about our projects and about anything that's going on. So we have a lot of prayer going on at our church. And one of the things that we've done for years, now I don't even remember how many years, I've lost track. Every Wednesday night before our midweek service at 6 o'clock we gather to pray for our nation. And we are praying for our president, our city councils, our school boards, the legislation that we're dealing with in our state, any of the current issues, like we prayed for the little boy from Texas, anything that you can think of that is just currently going on in the culture. People come in. They don't even need a prayer guide. They know how to pray. They know what's happening. So we're all like-minded. We pray and then get up and we go to service. We also pray. We've had special prayer events when something's been going on in the country that we need to pray. We've gathered to pray. And we also pray for our specific city council and school board members. And you can see this little prayer guide, the bookmark that we put out, so that people can remember to pray for our local officials, including our president and our California governor. He needs a lot of prayer. So, prayer is very important to this ministry. Can't stress it enough. So let's start. Let's recruit a ministry team. And we'll say this. Sometimes it's not a team. Sometimes it's just a team of one. I've heard that many times. It's just one person. And then you start praying for other people to come along. But it's not unusual to start by yourself. But you have to approach your pastor, of course, and get permission to get started. You don't want to go around the pastor's back. You don't want to do anything that is going to cause him to not trust you. You need to talk to him about what you think would be beneficial to the congregation. And then you talk to him about recruiting people, and I'll talk more about what some of the things that we can do, but having the pastor's blessing is extremely important. One thing you would have to know as a ministry leader or a member of a ministry team is what IRS guidelines say about what you can and cannot do. It's really important because you want to protect your church. You don't ever want to step outside of IRS guidelines. And believe it or not, IRS guidelines really are very lenient. One of the things they say that we cannot do is endorse a candidate. That's one of the main things. But there are so many other things that we can do as a church, and we take advantage of all of those at our church. So you can, actually I didn't post this on our website, but I will post this so you can get a copy of that. So let's think about this. A mission and a vision statement. The reason you want a mission and a vision statement, it helps you to stay focused. I think that's really important. So let's say somebody from your team wants to stray off and do something else that's not part of what you had prayed about. Then you just go back to your mission and vision statement, and it really helps keep you on track, and it really has helped us through all these years. Then you want to start branding yourself. Create a logo. And I think that helps when, as I talk about other projects here, you can see you can have a presence at the church, and you want people to know about your ministry. Well, if you create a logo, it's a really easy way for the church to just kind of start noticing who you are. And then they start coming to you. You'll find that they start coming to you when they start seeing you set up out there to ask you a question. Hey, did you hear about that boy in Texas? Oh, hey, did you hear about this? You just start to become known and trusted in the congregation, and branding helps. So plan pastor and team leader meetings. This is important because I meet with my pastor on a regular basis, I bring him the ideas that I have for activities. I bring him news. I bring him anything that would pertain to what our ministry is all about, which is standing for righteousness in the public square. You can ask him questions. He can tell me that he's been thinking about this. He wants to write something about this certain subject, and I'll do the research for him. But it's just a constant communication. Now, every church is going to be set up in a different way. So all of these things that I'm saying to you, don't think that you have to be doing everything that I'm saying, or you have to meet with your pastor a lot. You don't. You can set up your ministry according to what your pastor, your church leadership wants for your church, and that's how you operate. If your pastor wants to meet with you once a week, that would be fantastic, to sit down and talk about some of the things that are going on. But if he only wants an email, you can also do that. It's up to you. But then also setting up meetings with your team. If you're a team of one, maybe you don't do that. But your other team members, I meet with my team members on a regular basis. And it really helps to just bring us together and bond us together, because we are like-minded, because we are all concerned about the same thing, because we've all been praying about the same thing. So it's really important to talk about projects that we want to work on. This is one important way for you to stay up on what's going on in the culture, and especially at the state level. Sign up for what we call pro-family email updates. I know you have organizations in this state, and we could probably help you with that, to find out what's coming out of your state capital. And that way you can know what's going on. And that's really important for your ministry. But I'm going to recommend these 4 organizations at the national level: Alliance Defending Freedom, Family Policy Alliance, which is part of Focus on the Family, Family Research Council, and the Heritage Foundation. These organizations will give you the national news that is really vital for you to understand, all from a different perspective, but kind of talking about the same thing. So it helps you to develop your verbiage when you're talking about a certain issue, and you learn how to be comfortable with the words that they say and use, and these are the best. I'm going to also suggest that you become familiar with what's going on in your state capital. Visit your state's official legislative website. It is a website that is filled with so much information about what is going on in your state about legislation. I use mine so much I've memorized the website for the California legislative website. But it is so helpful, because somebody could be talking about something that's going on in the state, and you want a better understanding, and you want to read it for yourself if someone introduced a bill. Say, okay, I want a little bit more background. I want to know if that's true what they're saying. So you can go get all of that information. You can find out who your state legislators are, who's in your district. If you don't know, you should know who's in your district representing you. It's just a really fascinating website as far as I'm concerned. And just poke around it. Take a look, become familiar with it, learn how to get information out of the website. And I think that you'll really be blessed by what you learn. So another thing. This should actually say, provide the church with information on current issues. There's a typo on my handout, but all of this information that I'm gathering, like I said, it doesn't do me any good to keep it here. I have to share it with the body at Calvary and Chino Hills. And so, through the years, I've learned ways to do that, and I'm going to share that with you. But there are a lot of things going on outside of the church that our church needed to know about. Way back when, we fought for Prop 8, and you all may remember Prop 8 in California was a big fight to define marriage, or redefine marriage. And we won at one level because we had petitions, and the churches collected signatures on those petitions. But of course, the court overturned it. But our church was very involved in that. Our church was also very involved in SB 48. SB 48 was a bill that came out of Sacramento that said that all children from kindergarten to 12th grade had to get LGBT history. And we fought that. We had petitions, but we lost. We didn't get enough Christians out there to support that. And then we also got in another big referendum. It was AB 1266. It was the bill that said boys and girls needed to share restrooms, showers, locker rooms, and overnight field trips, and be on the opposite gender sports teams. That was one of our biggest projects that we've ever done. I was actually the proponent on that petition that was filed in Sacramento. And we put out the petitions and collected the signatures, and we turned them in, and the courts got involved. So it's kind of a mess right now, but nonetheless, we do the right thing. We work to protect our children. Even if we knew we were going to lose, we would have done it anyway. Because boys and girls should not be sharing restrooms, showers, and locker rooms. So not only did we circulate petitions at our church, we also became the headquarters for the petitions for all 3 of these campaigns. And I oversaw that. It's a very complicated project. I had no experience in doing anything like that. That didn't stop me, or that didn't stop the Lord, to say it that way. It didn't stop the Lord. He called us to do this, and we did it. So there's a lot of things that you can do to bring this information to the congregation. You just have to listen to the Lord. So how do you get this information out? One of the ways to get information out is you establish a culture impact team, or some kind of table. Some kind of table where you're providing information to the church. And like I said, you're going to brand it. And you're going to get to know that you're there. And they're going to come and they're going to ask you questions. You can set up this table after service, wherever you get set up, the foyer, the courtyard, and you can provide information. It could be once a month, once a week, every other week, whatever your church decides that it's going to be. And you get volunteers to join you and help pass out information. And so there's a lot of things that we've done through the years, different variations of what our table has looked like. But it's all based on what we're thinking that we need to bring to our congregation. Things that we feel that they should know and they should be aware of. Because most of the time, most people really don't know what's going on. And there's a lot of really important issues going on in Minnesota, just like it was in California. I was laughing about telling the girls, it's like, okay, I think that Minnesota's in the news just as much as California is. You're in trouble, just like California is. Maybe not quite as bad, but. So let's talk about voter registration. Do you know that a church can do a voter registration drive? How many people have ever seen a voter registration drive done at your church? Okay, this is good. Okay, voter registration drive, that's a good project. That's one of the first projects I did. My church, the voter registration drive. When my pastor said, okay, Gina, you're the leader. Okay, now what do I do? Well, voter registration is an easy way to get involved and to get information out to the congregation. But we've registered thousands and thousands of people. I've trained my team how to do voter registration. I have gone to our county registrar's office, and I was trained personally to make sure I understood all the ins and outs of voter registration. Every so often, I will review the manual that the county puts out about voter registration, or even the Secretary of State, to make sure that I'm in compliance and understanding all the ins and outs and the nuances and all the little questions that come along that people may have. So we are a resource for our church. As a matter of fact, if you heard about California's last election and how we just got wiped out with this whole thing called ballot harvesting, that was a big deal, and we lost a lot of congressional seats. And what we decided to do at my church is we are also going to ballot harvest. Ballot harvesting means when a person votes by mail, they get an envelope in the mail with their ballot. They fill out their ballot, seal the envelope, and they drop it in the mail. If they don't drop it in the mail, they can have someone go drop it at the ballot box for them, but it has to be a relative. The law was recently changed. Now, the law says anyone can drop your ballot off. So, what ended up happening is that there were people knocking on the doors of the people that vote by mail, and they were collecting their ballots, and they were making sure that they were getting turned in. And so the people that didn't support our position, they ran up the numbers. They did it legally, but they outsmarted us. And so that's why now the House is run by Nancy Pelosi. But California lost 6 seats. So ballot harvesting is legal in California now, and now we're going to do it at our church. So I'm putting a plan together for that. So you think about what it is you want to do, and then you make it happen. And the funny thing about this is that after we lost this election, and we were just so disappointed, to put it that way. Pastor Jack came into my office and we were talking about it, and I had already had it on my heart. I think we should do ballot harvesting at our church to make sure that everyone is voting. And Pastor Jack walks in and says, Gina, we need to do ballot harvesting. I was like, okay, Pastor Jack, I'm with you. So I'm working on that right now for California and any church that wants to participate. So that's what a ministry can do. It's legal. It's do it. It's not immoral. There isn't anything wrong with it, so we can do that. And also, one of our biggest blessings has been to produce voter guides for school board and city council races. How many have ever seen a voter guide for a school board or city council race? Right? No one. We're probably one of the few churches, except the others that are trained in my community, to do voter guides. Why do we do voter guides for school board and city council races? Because we want to know what these people believe. Right? The other side doesn't like it. They won't answer our questionnaire. The people that answer the questionnaires don't mind answering my questions. It really helps. We have kept our school board and city council conservative for a long time. It's something that anyone can do. One person can do one race. That's how easy it is. There's a lot of steps to it, a lot of things you should know, but I have information about that on our website. And it could change your community. So I do 5 voter guides every election. And we see the picture here of the red box. I have 5 spread out across the table. And our big church, 10,000 people, they come and pick up all our voter guides. I post them on our website so people outside of our church can get our voter guide. It's a really great way to know who you're voting for and if they share your values. It's allowed by IRS guidelines. Why aren't we taking advantage of it? I think we should. We could change our school board and our city council if we knew who we were voting for. So that's what our voter guide looks like. That's the cover. It's folded in half. This is the inside. It's just one sheet, and it makes it really easy for the voter. I've seen voter guides on their pages and pages. It's confusing to people. To tell you the truth, people don't want a whole lot of information. They want bite-sized pieces of information. That's what I've learned through the years. So you make it as easy as possible for them to know who to vote for. We're not telling them who to vote for. We're just asking questions. And if the candidate chooses to answer, great. And if not, like this candidate right here, this candidate answered, did not answer. So when a Christian gets this voter guide, they can make up their own mind what they think about that candidate. You can also distribute voter guides. FRC puts out a voter guide for presidential candidates. Copy that on their website, download it, and put it at your information table. I don't know if you get statewide voter guides. Do you get statewide voter guides here? Okay, great. You can put those at your table. The only thing you really shouldn't do is put single subject voter guides, like all pro-life questions. That's probably the only kind of voter guide you shouldn't put out. So, create legislative action alerts and get your people to lobby. I think this is one of the most important things we do as a ministry. Like I said, there's legislation coming out of Sacramento and Washington, D.C. I'm not monitoring all of those bills. In California, we get from 2,000 to 4,000 bills every year. And the pro-family organizations, they're Christian organizations based in California, their group will monitor what's coming out of Sacramento. They put out the list, and I get their email updates. So as I'm looking at the list, say, yeah, that's terrible, but let's see what's coming, what else is coming. And I'm going down the list, praying, discerning which of the bills we're going to be involved in. So you get this list, start praying, and you decide, okay, so there's 12 bills that I don't like coming out of Sacramento. I can't hand out flyers to every single person on all of these bills, so I am going to pick 1, 2, maybe 3 bills that I'm really going to do my best to get this information into the hands of people at my church. The other bills, I post them on our social media. I'll talk about that in a minute. But what I do is I create this action alert. And the front side you're going to see over here, all the way to the left, the front side is a description of the bill. Very short. Like I said, people don't want to read the entire bill. So I'm going to give them a short explanation of what it is. And then on the back side, right here on the left, the action steps. Call your assembly member and urge him or her to vote no on SB 128. I list all of the assembly members around my church. There's several. People come from all over to come to my church. I list their name and their phone number and their street address of their office. And so what we do is, most of the time, Pastor Jack will say, okay, you got your action alert as you walked into the sanctuary. Make sure you call Senator Freddie Rodriguez and you urge him to vote no on SB 128. I'll tell you what, our legislators in our area, they know us. They know we're paying attention. And so our legislators will get a lot of phone calls on these bills. To tell you the truth, it's not enough. We need more churches to do this. But we are making an impact. So I think that's really important. And, you know, it's so easy for a person to just pick up the phone and say, my name is Gina Gleason, this is my address, Chino Hills, I'm urging Senator to vote no on SB 128. Thank you. Hang up. That's how easy it is to make an impact on the outcome of this vote. Most people don't believe it, right, Senator? It's just that easy. And they mark the phone calls that they get. So it's really important because, to tell you the truth, even legislators who are on my side of the aisle don't always vote the way I want them to vote. So you still have to be calm, no matter what. You have to let your representatives know what you want from them. Now, this is what I would imagine, perfect scenario. I would say, let's take a Senate district here. And in this Senate district, we had all of these churches that were well-informed Christians. And all of these Christians were calling this senator, saying, vote no on SB 128. What do you think that senator is going to do? He's going to vote no on SB 128. That's what I imagine happening, not only in my state, but in this state and across the country. Because Christians must stand up. We must speak up. It's not that difficult. But Christians are not going to get this information from any place, especially coming from a Christian perspective. Hand it to them in a flyer that they can walk home and go home. Sit down with this little tool that they can have in their hand, and they can really make an impact. They can really be a Christian being salt and light. It's that simple. That's why I think this is so important. That's why I think that the church, the Christians, the body of Christ, standing up and speaking up on things like this would make all the difference in the world for our state and for our nation. But it's got to be done. And we need people to do it. So what we do with this flyer, you see this picture here, is on the 1, 2, or 3 important bills, we will actually hand this flyer out to people as they're walking into the sanctuary. It doesn't happen all the time. I have to make sure it's a really big, important bill. But I would say, allowing boys and girls to share the same restroom, shower, and locker room, that's a really big deal. I think most people would want to know. I think people would pick up their phone and say, I am urging you to vote no on this terrible bill. So they need to know. And the Bible says, people perish for lack of knowledge. So let's talk about getting the information out besides using a flyer. You can do it on social media. I have a website. Take a look at our website when you get home. It's called realimpact.us. There's a flyer on the back. And that information is just dedicated to providing people with information about some of these really important issues. When I talk about important issues, there are very few issues that we actually cover. We're covering issues that have to deal with life, protecting the unborn, marriage, gender. God designed marriage. Man has no right to redefine marriage, as they have done. Gender, God created them, male and female. All this redefining of genders and all these gender things going on. It wouldn't be happening if more Christians were speaking up. So we get this information out on our website, and that's pretty much where we get most of the information out. We also have a Facebook page that we get the information out, and it's a good resource for the church. So one of the things we also do is monitor school board and city council races, especially city council school board races. There are so many things happening in the schools nowadays. Our church, after I urged Pastor Jack, well, I think we need to get everybody out to the school board meeting because they're voting on this. We've had up to 700 people show up at a school board meeting. And the school board wanted to take prayer invocations away. And we had people there that had signs, let us pray, or pray, or whatever it may be. And a lot of the congregation got up to make their 2-minute, 3-minute public statement about why we thought invocations were important. Things like that go on. One of the other things that happened in our community was the city council wanted to take away the invocation. And what we did was, we produced these t-shirts that you can see here. I pray in Jesus' name. And started wearing these t-shirts around the community. And the city council got the message. And they gave us back the invocation. That was a big deal for us. Because they were set on being intimidated by certain people. But we have an invocation in our city council list. And those are the kind of things that you can do, standing for righteousness in the public square. Our city council knows who we are.
Amen.
Amen. So we do a lot of events. And one of the things we've done through the years, and it's kind of changed up a little bit, but we have different monthly meetings. We'll bring in speakers. One day, twice we did a lobby day, and I need to do another one. But I wanted people to learn how to lobby their legislators and how to do it correctly. Not to go in there like a loud clanging cymbal and being rude. We're going to go into a legislator's office, and we're going to represent Christ and our church well. And so we taught them how to do it. And one of the legislators actually welcomed us into his office after hours, and I took teams of about 80 people at a time into his office, and we did a role play as if I was actually going to walk in and do and lobby my legislator. So the receptionist sat at the desk, they introduced myself, they took me into the room, and I sat down with the senator's aide, and I talked about the issue that I cared about while everyone was standing around, flies on the wall, watching me. And it becomes less intimidating when they see stuff like that happening. You can do those kinds of things. You can be creative. I mean, this isn't something that I can take credit for. This is something the Lord gave me. And one other very important thing as we get to one of the last slides about the teens is networking is so, so important. By showing up and meeting people, like-minded people, it is such a blessing, not only for you, but for other people. And you get doors open to you. You find out about what's going on in the community or at the state level, and you just start learning, and that is one way to grow your ministry and understanding of what's going on. Because I had to learn a lot. I really didn't know a whole lot when I started. That's how I met Bruce. That's how I met Bruce. We went out to one of his FRC events. And I met Bruce for the first time there, and through Bruce, and that's how I'm here today. But it's not, it makes a big difference, especially if you're just starting out. I think that you'll also enjoy it. So right here is a picture of one of our assembly members for Chino Hills. And there was a bill that we were writing a letter to the governor about. So we set out tables in the courtyard and we wrote our letters to the governor because he was about ready to vote on this bill that we wanted him to veto. And so we had almost 5,000 letters, handwritten letters addressed to our governor. And because I'm out there networking and I get to meet the legislators, and they know who we are, he hand-delivered the letters for us, and he was proud to do it. But that's all about getting out there and meeting these senators, assembly members, these school board members, meeting them face to face. It's really important. I really want to stress that. So find out what's going on in your community. So as far as the checklist, that is it. So I want to transition a little bit and add a little bit more about some of our activities. At one point, we had the opportunity to bring Bibles into our public school. And we worked on that project. And it happened. We got Bible for our high school kids. And it wasn't proselytizing, it was teaching the Bible, more history, I guess you could say. So it was big news. Pastor Jack here on the cover. And okay, here goes Pastor Jack again. And here's the Bible here on the right. And it was one of the biggest blessings of my time in ministry to have people come into our office to pick up stacks of Bibles that we donated to the school for our high school kids. It was a blessing. So anyone can do it. Take a look at your state laws and figure out how you can get this done. I'm sure that there are people that are out there working on this in different states, and it is happening. There's some other things that are going on. If you've all heard of Alliance Defending Freedom, Alliance Defending Freedom is a faith-based law firm, very well known. They have what they call Pulpit Freedom Sunday. And on Pulpit Freedom Sunday, the pastor gets up and preaches a message that they would consider breaking IRS guidelines. And Pastor Jack was one of the first pastors. I think there was just a handful, maybe 30 or so, pastors that did it the first year. Our church was one of them. And Pastor Jack gets up every year and he preaches this message that breaks IRS guidelines. And it's really kind of a challenge to the IRS. You want to try to take my tax exempt status away? Have at it. ADF is backing us up. And have they? No. You know why? Because it's a lot of scare tactics. They're scaring you into silence. We have a lot of rights at the church. We need to exercise them. Another thing that FRC does, it's the call of fall. Once a year, right around 4th of July, they invite all of the churches across the country, and the numbers have grown tremendously of the churches that are participating. And the pastor just gets up at the pulpit and he asks everyone in the congregation to get down on their knees and pray for our nation. That's very powerful. You turn around and you see the whole church on their knees praying for our nation. That is powerful. I love that. Sign up for FRC action alerts, like I said, and you'll get some information about Color Fall when that takes place. Additional activities around our youth. One of the things we do is we send our youth, our high school kids, to a youth camp. It's called City on the Hill, based in Sacramento. It's a week-long camp about children learning about government, state government. We sponsor 4 children every year to go to that camp. We've been doing that for maybe, 6 or 7 years. And the kids come back, and these kids grow up not intimidated by government because they've had an insight. They go down to the legislative floor and they act like legislators. they go through role-playing of writing bills, and they understand what the process is all about. Through the years, I personally have brought along young ladies that are interested in this type of thing. And 4 of them have gone on to college to major in political science. 3 have gone on to be lawyers, to Liberty and other law schools. Because this is a culture in our church. We are bringing up the young people to fear government, to understand that they can help change things. This picture here in the center is of some of our girls that we took to Sacramento one time to testify in a bill that was being heard in Sacramento. And then we do things like writing student essays. So there's always some fun things that we can do too. We've had town halls, big town halls. We've invited our congressmen in to come and talk about an important issue. As a matter of fact, this one time that we did this town hall, it was a town hall on healthcare when President Obama first introduced it. And our congressman came to our church to explain what it was all about. It was packed. People really wanted to know. We can do those kinds of things. One of our more recent activities, 2 months ago to the day, we had a big conference at my church we called Let Parents Decide, about comprehensive sex education. Because I have learned so much about comprehensive sex ed that if you knew everything that I knew, everything that Bonnie knew, you would be on fire for helping to fight this. So we had this conference. We brought out speakers. Alliance Defending Freedom sent an attorney and a few others. And the focus was sex ed, to make sure that people understood what this was all about, because it's that important. We had 1,500 people in attendance. And at that conference, we launched an online petition. It's a parental rights petition saying that we don't like comprehensive sex ed, and we want our lawmakers and our policymakers to protect our parental rights. It's a very, very big fight to protect our parental rights, because the state is snatching them away from us, and your parents don't even know it. So we started this online petition. Citizen Go is actually, they're Christians. Have you all heard about Citizen Go? Go to citizengo.org. And they're pro-life petitions and all these kinds of conservative biblical value petitions. And we launched the petition 2 months ago, and we have, I think, over 23,000 signatures on our petition opposing sex ed in California. So, thinking about all this stuff, it can be kind of overwhelming. You can say, oh, why should we fight that? It's because it's the right thing to do. We need to be protecting our families and our kids. And I've always loved this verse in Psalm 94, 16, and 17, because it's not a verse that's often heard. Often you hear this, and I remember, I read my Bible every day, and I've been doing that for years. But I remember way back when I first heard this, I thought, oh my gosh, such a revelation. Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? Unless the Lord had been my help, my soul would have settled in silence. And I am, by nature, a very quiet person. I'm not one to speak up. But when I started learning about what's happening in our country, in the culture, I felt that I couldn't be quiet about it. I felt that no Christian should be silent about it. We should be able to defend the defenseless. We should be able to protect and defend God's word. God gave us marriage. We have to fight for marriage. So those kinds of things. And I'm not really saying, I don't want to call people evil. That's not what I'm saying. It's like, but they're doing evil things, right? They are. Gotta face it. When Bruce talked about the New York infanticide bill, that was the law that said you can kill a baby up until the moment right before its birth. That's what that was. That's an evil task that they are putting before the people of New York City. And we have to fight. So I want to switch over a tiny bit, and I think I have a few more minutes. How much time do I have? I'm good, okay. Because I really just want to touch on this, because Bonnie is going to be your resource for this. But we are talking about the same thing. It's going on in California, it's going on here, it's going on in different parts of the country, in pockets of different states. In Austin, Texas, I think that's where they're fighting it. But it's the sexualization of our children. And it's coming at the hands of our state government. And do you know that most people don't know a thing about it? When I've been out talking about it, people say, God, that can't be real. That's like, how is that possible? I said, no, you have to believe me, it's true, it's really healthy. So I have been out throughout California speaking about this topic. I've done over 30 presentations in the last 5 to 6 months. This is my focus. Aside from the legislation and all the other things we do, the information, and voter registration every week right now, because we have elections coming up in March, sex education, it's my focus. And when I say sex education, you're all probably thinking, oh, what's the problem with sex education? I got it in school, it's perfectly fine. It's not the same thing. When we were in school, we learned biology. Those had menstrual periods, there's, these things, the changes in the body, those kinds of things. Okay, we get that. But this is nothing close to that. It includes that, but everything else that comes along with it is not anything that any child should ever be exposed to. As a matter of fact, I am really for parents pulling their kids out of the public school, if possible, and either homeschool or private school would do something, because not only is this in the sex education course, but this sexualization is through every topic. It's in math, it's in history, it's in everything. And there's only so much you can do to protect your kids. But in this sex ed course, in California, we have a special protection, which doesn't concern you right now, of course, because you're not from California, but we really need to know about what's going on. But it's not just in the United States. It's happening all over the world, okay? All over the world. In Canada, they passed Bill 89 in 2017. Bill 89 said, this is the gist of it, if parents don't agree that their child should transition, then the state is going to step in and help that child transition to the other gender. That's a law that passed in Canada. And they're even worse than California. That's horrible. Something like what's happening with this little boy in Texas. In Australia, they have a bill, education code, that also says that if the parents aren't going to let the child transition, that they're going to step in, the counties will step in and evaluate this little child, and they'll determine whether or not the parents are pushed aside and they let the kid transition. That's happening in Australia. It's written, that's their ed code right here down the bottom left. Then we have a case here, and a mother was suing the state and the county in schools because they were allowing her son to take these puberty blocking pills, medication, without her knowledge. It's happening. It's real. And then we have a case here where these parents said no to their daughter transitioning. Well, this court stepped in, took the daughter away from the parents, gave the daughter to the grandparents because the grandparents were okay with that. We're losing our parental rights. It's frightening what the courts are doing, what the state government is doing. And you have to be aware, you have to know. If you're not the type of person that wants to follow all this, you're going to hear from Bonnie right now. She's going to be the one that's going to keep you up on all this news. Because you really need to be prepared. Because it may not be your children. Your children may be growing, but your grandchildren are the ones that are in danger. So I want to talk about this report from the American College of Pediatricians. These are the good guys. And they've evaluated comprehensive sex ed, or CSE. And this is the conclusion that they came to, and I agree with them 100%. That children should be free from sexual inhibitions, that children should lose their outdated moral constraints. So who has outdated moral constraints when it comes to sexuality? We do. We do. That kids should be free to enjoy sexual pleasure and that they should make up their own mind when they're ready to have sex. And this, I promise you, is happening throughout all of the curriculum and the material that I've seen. They are separating the children from the parents. The children are learning how to make decisions on their own regarding their sexuality. And they're not good decisions, they're bad decisions. Because it runs a gamut of anything and everything that you can think of and things that you haven't thought of. Believe me. But here's a report from SIECUS, the Sexuality Information and Education Council of the United States, and this is what they say, that teenagers should be able to explore the full range of safe sexual behavior, including undressing each other, masturbation alone, masturbation in front of a partner, and mutual masturbation. SIECUS is the beginning of all of this sex education comes from. The schools, the states, the federal government, they get a lot of information from SIECUS about sexuality. And I can give you a long history one day, but I think Bonnie will maybe be able to do that about how all of this started way back when. But this is how these people think. And Parenthood also plays a role, and they brag about this. This is a snapshot from their website. Planned Parenthood said that they've taught over 1.5 million individuals about sexuality, and the majority of them, 64%, are middle school and high school kids. I've been to their website. The things that are on their website, you do not want children to know about. Now this is a clip from California's Health Education Framework. This is the framework that they give to curriculum writers and to schools to explain how to comply with state laws regarding teaching health. And the reason I show this is because this little red box down here in the corner where the red arrow is the list of books that I'm showing you right here. And what happened in California was the list of books, pornographic, and when parents were outraged and they protested, the state of California pulled this list of books from their recommended list. But the problem is that these books can still be brought into the classroom. There's nothing to prohibit them in state law from bringing these books into the classroom. And I'm not going to read everything in these books because I wouldn't do that to you. I'm just going to read one short couple of sentences from this book, What's Happening to My Body with the Boys, right on top there. On page 157, the question is asked, is it weird for a boy to masturbate with other boys? Some boys learn about, here's the answer, some boys learn about masturbation from other boys. Some boys even experiment by masturbating together. Boys who do this often worry about whether this is weird. Sometimes they think it means they're homosexual. Recommended by the state of California. I'm sorry to have to read that to you. But that's just one. That is just one of many, many things that are just so absolutely disgusting. I'm not going to read a single thing from this book. Sex, all you need to know through Sexuality Guide to get you through your teens and 20s. Pornographic, how to do sex acts. Recommended by the state of California. And the state of California is not the only demented State Department of Education. I think we have the problems here too. Right? So I'm going to just give you some brief examples of what's in California's curriculum. Here's a question asked. When do you think someone is ready to have sex, either oral, vaginal, or anal sex with their partner? Across all of the curriculum, over and over and over and over and over and over, it's oral, vaginal, anal sex. If you get my handout in the back that I created this infographic, I say, bullet point, CSE, they equate vaginal sex with anal sex. And I know because I read the curriculum. absolutely disgusting. Planned Parenthood is going to tell our girls, you can't get pregnant if you have any sex. And the reason they say, they want to push that is because, if girls are doing this, and of course you can get pregnant, and that's not the main way, but you know what I mean. But our girls are being abused because boys are saying this to girls. You won't lose your virginity. And I know this because people have told me. So here's another one. Applying lubricant to the outside of a condom also makes vaginal and anal sex more comfortable. And then one more. Can you imagine being a different gender? What would be different in your life? Small snippets of hundreds of examples that I could give you. Your kids are being taught in the classroom behind closed doors. If this teacher is teaching your class, this class of students, it's legal. Schools are protected from obscenity laws. But if this teacher here was talking to your daughter outside in the front yard at home, you'd want to go punch that man in the mouth. If he said, hey, have you read this book? Have you read this book? Or ask any of these questions, when do you think someone's ready to have sex? That would be obscene. Be lewd, you'd probably get arrested for it. But in the classroom, it's legal. And then they also have kids going on websites to get what's called accurate sex information. And here are just a few of them. Sex Etc., Scarlet Teen, and Planned Parenthood. The Scarlet Teen, recognize this book? What I just held up. They send kids to websites that are sexually provocative in their language. And they're exposing them to things like this book. This book, I think a lot of people have seen, is perfectly normal for 10-year-olds and older. The infographic is back on the table. It's California's version of sex ed, but I think it's going to be suitable for yours too. This is a brief description, 6 bullet points of what CSE is, and I think the voting records and legislators in our state who gave us this fine law. And I won't go through this because this is all about voting and how your vote affects your children in public schools. So the task ahead, what do we do? I'm going to ask you to get connected to Nehemiah research. I'm also going to ask you to talk to your pastor about getting something started in your church. You absolutely need to pray about it first. And if he says no, just say, okay, go back and pray. And then share what you've learned with other people, and don't forget to network. And I think that, like Bruce said, Nehemiah, that story of Nehemiah, one of my favorite books in the Bible, this verse is so important. This is really like God telling us, God telling us that we have permission to fight for our kids. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles and to the leaders and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, great and awesome, and fight for your brethren, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your houses. Please, fight. Don't give up, and do not be afraid. That's it.
Amen.